Oh, hi everybody! Welcome to Checkers Library TV. I am Checkers the Inventor.
I am Snoozer!
And we're just off on a nice trip through the clouds. Thanks so much for joining us, by the way. We're gonna have a great show today. We have a lot of great things we're talking about, and today's featured theme is insects. You guys know insects like grasshoppers, bees, ants, mosquitoes, flies, butterflies, crickets, and a whole bunch more. There are so many different kinds of insects across the world to learn about, but we're only going to talk about a few today, but really important ones, of course. You guys may have heard of ants before. Now, Snoozer, I know you've heard of ants because your teacher, Mrs. Hamilton, one time had an ant farm you guys got to learn about together.
Yeah, it was great. I got to see the ants working. They worked so hard.
If you look carefully here, it all looks like sand. But hopefully they'll start to dig some tunnels.
Have you guys ever had an ant farm before? Oh my gosh, ants are so cool. When you have an ant farm, you get to see nature happening right in front of your eyes, and sometimes in your own house. Ants are great because they're really small, but they work really hard together, and they accomplish pretty amazing things despite their size. So when you have an ant farm, you learn more about ants. You can learn about bees. Bees are a great thing to learn about. We're going to talk about them a little bit later. But there might be other insects you want to learn about. And one of the best ways to learn about insects is to be reading books. So I'm going to bring out my friend, Zot the Robot. Hey, Zot, do you have any good books for us about different kinds of insects?
Zot the Robot at your service. Today's selections are The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, Bugs, a kid's book about bugs and insects by Jenny River, The Backyard Bug, a book for kids by Lauren Davidson, Do You Know About Insects by Buffy Silverman, Some Books About Insects, Goodbye.
Thanks, Zot. Well, there you go. You can check those books out at the library this week. If you can't find an exact book that we talked about, don't worry. Your librarian can help you out and find other books that are like these and maybe a little bit different, but are going to teach you great new stuff about insects. So, those are some books. We've got a great show for you guys today. We've got Snoozer telling the joke of the week. We've got the question of the week. We've got Snoozer's teacher, Mrs. Hamilton, coming on, and she's going to do an art project with you, and she's going to read a book to you. We've also got Dr. Dan coming on to give you guys the healthy tip this week, and a whole bunch more. So stay tuned for all the cool things we're doing right here on Checkers Library TV.
Did you know? Bees have 5 eyes and 6 legs. A single bee will gather just 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. Many bees would have to travel 55,000 miles to produce just 1 pound of honey. To get that 1 pound of honey, those bees need to gather nectar from 2 million flowers. The library has tons of books about bees. Visit the library to learn more.
Hello and welcome to Let's Get to Know, the part of the show where we go out into the community. We meet some really cool people and we tell you more about them. And today we're meeting a really special guest. We've been talking about bees this show, and we are meeting with someone named Erin the Beekeeper. So Erin's going to be a great guest that we are getting to know, and we might learn a lot more about bees and honey, and that's going to be great. So we're going to hop in the Checkers van and go for a little road trip. We'll see you in a jiff. Erin is somebody who takes care of bees, helps them grow up, start their own colonies, and make honey. And that is really important because bees are an endangered species. That means they are in serious risk of going extinct. So in a certain amount of time, there might not be any bees left on the planet, which would be absolutely terrible, and that's why it's really important to learn more about bees and how important they are. Let's get to know Erin the Beekeeper. How are you doing, Erin?
I'm great.
Well, it's so great to have you here. We're so excited to get to know you. Now, you are a beekeeper, and you also own this whole garden center. This is fantastic. So how long have you been involved in beekeeping?
I'd say probably about 10 years at this point.
10 years, so you've been doing it for a long time. What got you interested in working with bees?
Actually, a beehive moved into my backyard when I lived out in California. They moved into a birdhouse, and I fell in love with them and decided to move them into a bigger, proper hive. And from there, I became a beekeeper and tried to start teaching other people to become beekeepers too.
That's fantastic. Now, so you've been working with bees for a while. What's your favorite thing about working with bees?
Actually, I love the sound that they make. The sound of that buzzing, once you get used to it, is really calming. And it helps you just to focus on what you're doing and kind of put all the other things you're thinking about aside. So I find it very calming.
Calming? Oh, I like that answer. So is there something a lot of kids or people don't understand about bees? Something really interesting?
I think the biggest thing is that honeybees are not aggressive, and they generally don't sting you. For the most part, if you've been stung by something, it was not a honeybee. It was probably a yellow jacket or some sort of a wasp, which are important too.
Do all bees have stingers?
No. So there are a lot of types of bees, but even amongst honeybees, only the girls have stingers. The boy bees do not.
Oh, so only the girls have stingers. Wow, that's really cool. So that means mainly it's going to be girls that are inside of the honeycomb making honey.
That's correct. So doing all of the work inside the hive, all girls. And if you see a bee out on a flower collecting nectar or pollen, that's a girl bee too. You can be sure that's a girl bee.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, well, very interesting. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that. What is one thing that kids could do if they want to help out the bee population?
The first thing is to just plant flowers. Plant lots of flowers. Even if you have a tiny little patio, plant a pot of flowers. That's the best thing that you can do because flowers are just bee food, so you're feeding the bees. The second best thing you can do is buy honey from a local beekeeper. If you've never tried real honey from a beekeeper, you should do that because it tastes so much better than what you would buy at the grocery store. So when you do that, you're supporting your local beekeeper, and then she can take better care of her bees.
Oh, well, thank you. That's great. So planting flowers. Now, the bees are using that flower, to make the honey.
They are. So bees collect two main things from flowers. First is nectar, which is the liquid part of the flower. That's what turns into honey in the hive. The other thing they collect is pollen. So if you ever watch a bee on a flower, look and see what she's doing. If you see her putting her nose down into a flower, she's probably collecting nectar, kind of sucking it up like a butterfly does. If she's using her legs to grab little grains of yellow or white stuff and packing it into pouches on the back of her legs, she's collecting pollen. And pollen is their protein source, so a bee will collect both. And that's my best tip if you're afraid of bees. Next time you see a bee on a flower, just watch for a minute and see if you can figure out if she's collecting nectar with her tongue or pollen with her feet. By the time you figure that out, chances are good that you've decided that bee is not so scary.
Oh, that's great. So we don't have to be afraid of bees. They're doing a lot of good stuff for us, and if we watch carefully, they're helping out our environment. They're collecting pollen and nectar, and they're making us honey. So that's really interesting. All right, well, Erin, we do have some fast questions for you now. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, 7 quick questions. First question, what's your favorite animal?
Dogs.
All right. Favorite place to go out and read?
Under a shade tree in my backyard.
All right. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, Goonies.
Oh, the Goonies. All right. What do you like better, swimming or biking?
Biking.
All right. Donuts or ice cream?
Donuts.
Hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburgers.
All right. Now, last question. What is one interesting or unique thing about you that we don't know?
Ooh, I have 3 dogs, 3 goats, and 3 alpacas, and 22 chickens at my
Oh my gosh, you guys have a lot of pets.
We do.
Well, we really enjoyed our time getting to know Erin, and we do appreciate her sharing her outstanding knowledge of bees, honey, and everything else she does at her garden center. And we will have another special guest here next time on Let's Get to Know.
If you would like to email Checkers and Snoozers, send your emails to checkers@checkerslibrarytv.com. We always look forward to hearing from you.
boys and girls, Mrs. Hamilton here. I'm going to be reading you a couple stories from this book. It is written by a man named Aesop, who was a poor man from Greece. And he told these stories and wrote these stories to teach a lesson, which is called a moral. And he used animals and insects and all kinds of great creatures to tell his stories. And some of them are over 100 years old. So the first story I'm going to read to you is called The Ant and the Dove. Now, who would think that an ant could help a dove? But in this story, somehow he does. A dove saw an ant fall into a brook. The ant struggled in vain to reach the bank, and in pity, the dove dropped a blade of straw close beside it. Clinging to the straw like a shipwrecked sailor to a broken spar, the ant floated safely to shore. So the ant had fallen in the water, and the dove was seeing him unable to swim. So he threw a little piece of straw into the water, and he saved the ant. Soon after, the ant saw a man getting ready to kill the dove with a stone. But just as he cast the stone, the ant stung him in the heel, so that the pain made him miss his aim, and the startled dove flew to safety in a distant wood. So to repay the dove for saving its life, when the ant saw the dove about to have a stone thrown at it, the ant bit the person that was going to hit them with the stone, and it made him miss the dove, and the ant saved the dove's life. So the moral of the story is a kindness is never wasted. So even if you're an itty bitty thing, you can help people, and often when you help others, that kindness is repaid. All right, the next story is called The Gnat and the Bull. Now, a gnat is a little insect with wings, kind of like a mosquito, and it just gets in the way sometimes. A gnat flew over the meadow with much buzzing for so small a creature, and settled on the tip of one of the horns of a bull. After he had rested a short time, he made ready to fly away. But before he left, he begged the bull's pardon for having used his horn for a resting place. "You must be very glad to have me go now," he said. "It's all the same to me," replied the bull. "I did not even know you were there." So the gnat had flown and was right in the middle of one of the horns of this creature here, the bull. And after he slept there for a while, he wanted to tell the bull that he was sorry that he was on there for so long, but the bull had not even noticed that he was there. So the moral or the lesson of the story is we are often of greater importance in our own eyes than in the eyes of our neighbor. And that just means we live in a big wide world, just like this big bull here. And see how tiny the gnat is? Well, we're just one little tiny speck in the whole world. So sometimes when we have a problem, we have to remember that there's people all over the world that have problems too. So we just have to be a little mindful that our problems aren't everybody else's problems. Well, I had a great time reading to you, and I look forward to reading to you next time. We'll see you then.
Did you know? An apple is a fruit and grows on an apple tree. Apples can be red, green, yellow, pink, or a combination of all these colors. An apple can be as small as a golf ball and as large as a grapefruit. There are over 7,500 varieties of apples grown worldwide. The library has tons of books about apples. Visit the library to learn more.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Dan, and today I want to talk about apples. Now you might have heard the phrase before, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now that phrase is a little bit true because apples are super nutritious and super healthy. Now apples contain all kinds of vitamins and minerals, things our body needs throughout the day to give us energy, to run and play and study and do all the things we do throughout the day. We need nutrients, and apples are loaded with them. Now another great thing that apples have a lot of is called fiber. Fiber is a substance our body uses to keep everything moving, our stomach and our intestines, and to use all the great nutrients, the fruits, the vegetables, the grains, the meats we eat throughout the day to turn them into energy that we can use throughout the day. So everyone, if we want lots of energy for our brain and our body throughout the day, make sure we're always eating foods like apples that have lots of vitamins, nutrients, fibers, and other great things that give us all that wonderful energy. And don't forget everyone, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
And now, the question of the week. How high can you jump?
I can jump this high. 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 1, 2, 4, high. I can jump this high. I can jump this high.
Thanks for joining us for the question of the week.
Welcome back to Science Time, the part of the show where we do science. And today is going to be great because we're talking about acids and bases. Now, acids and bases are opposites. Both of them break things down and they cause chemical reactions, but they are different in many ways. They're two opposites, and we're going to talk about how they act differently and what they do when we bring them together. Now, for now, you might learn about acids and bases when you're older, but for now, we're going to talk about them in a very simple way. There are strong acids, and there are strong bases, and then there are weak acids and weak bases. So an example of a strong acid would be hydrochloric acid, and where you find that is in your stomach. It helps break down the food that we eat. Where you would find another strong base would be in drain cleaner. So if you've ever seen drain cleaner, that's an example of a strong base. Now there's also weak acids. So something that would be a weak acid could be found right in your kitchen, and that would be something like vinegar. This here is apple cider vinegar, but vinegar is an example of something that is a weak acid. An example of something that vinegar does is bringing a cucumber down into a pickle. That is also a chemical reaction, that process of the cucumber turning into the pickle. That's something that vinegar does. Vinegar can also be used for things such as cleaning a shower drain, cleaning a microwave, or cleaning a coffee maker. An example of a weak base would be something like baking soda. Now, baking soda can be used for things like cleaning, helping food last longer in the refrigerator. It can be used in the pool to keep the pool clean, or it can be used while you're cooking. If you think about something like pancakes, when you add baking soda to it, that creates the reaction that allows the pancake to rise up and become fluffier. So baking soda is used for cooking. Now, baking powder is a little similar because it has the same weak base as the baking soda, but it has two acids inside of it. And that means all you have to do is add water to create a chemical reaction with baking powder. But today, what we're going to be doing is combining baking soda with our vinegar, which is the weak acid and the weak base together to create a chemical reaction. Alrighty, well, we are going to put in just a quarter of a cup here of this vinegar. And the next thing we're going to do is add in the baking soda. So here is just a very simple tablespoon, and then here is our baking soda. So we're going to make sure we don't make too much of a mess. All right, well, we made a little mess, but here it is. All right, that's actually a little bit extra. Let's see what happens here when we put the baking soda into the vinegar. Whoa, wow, look at that. It just bubbles up to the top. Now, this might remind you a little bit of like soda when you see that, fizz and bubble up, and that looks really, really cool. So that there is the chemical reaction of when we take vinegar, which is our weak acid again, and baking soda, the weak base, and we put them together. So what we saw there was the carbon dioxide expanding, and that was what made it look kind of like soda as it rose to the top of our container here. But now what we're gonna do is try to capture that carbon dioxide that was inside of here, and we're gonna see what happens when we do it a little bit different. So we're gonna actually use a few different things for this part of the experiment, which starts with a funnel, and that is this. And what this is going to allow us to do is take baking soda and put it into a balloon. And then we're going to take that baking soda and put it into this cup, which in a second will have our vinegar in it. So let's just add a little bit more vinegar to this balloon. Oh boy, let's get that in there. All right, that looks good. So there's our vinegar. And now what we're going to do is place the balloon underneath the funnel. And there is that. And now I'm going to take the baking soda and start putting it into the balloon. All right, well, that is looking pretty good. So we've got our balloon and we have our vinegar. Now what we're going to do is put them together. So we're making the chemical reaction we made before, but now we're capturing the carbon dioxide. And we can see some of the baking soda has been traveling through the air. So let's get that on here. It's getting a little bit dusty in here. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Here we go. We almost lost it. Look at that. It's blowing up. That is just like when we blow up a balloon. We have carbon dioxide leaving our mouth that blows a balloon up, but now we've created our own carbon dioxide that blows up the balloon all by itself. And that, my friends, is a chemical reaction. Well, that is a lot of fun. You can do these things right at home with your family and friends. You just need a simple balloon. Like I said, vinegar is found in most kitchens, so that's going to be really easy to find, and so is baking soda. So get your mom and dad, your grandparents, some friends and family together, and you can do science experiments just like this. And you can even check out books at the library that are going to have experiments like this that you can do right from home. It's a great thing to do. You'll learn a little bit more about science, and you'll have a lot of fun reading as well. Thank you so much for joining us for another great show here, and we will see you next time on Science Time.
Did you know? There are more than 12,000 species of ants all over the world. An ant can lift 20 times its own body weight. That would be like you being able to lift a car. Some queen ants can live for many years and have millions of babies. Ants don't have lungs. They can breathe through tiny holes in their bodies. The library has tons of books about ants. Visit the library to learn more.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to our project. Today, we're going to be making a bee. So you should have these two sheets. It's called Make and Take a Bee. First step will be to cut all the pieces out. So let's do that now, and then we'll lay them all out and get started. I think we're ready to get started. So why don't we start with the head. The head is gonna go right on the side. right like that. So you're gonna need a little glue. Put a little glue on the side and add a head. I always hold it down and count to 5, then I know it's on there very well. And I think the next step we're gonna do is to add the stripe. So let's start with the back side. I'll put a little glue all around the edge. I always try and get the edges. And that is gonna go right onto the bee's backside. Right where that stinger usually is. 1. And then this is gonna go right about in the middle. So we are gonna rest it against the bottom. There's gonna be a little space there, but that is where the wings are going. So again, try and get all along the outside, not just sticking the glue in the middle. And place it right about there in the middle. Try and match it up, line it up on the bottom. Okay, give it a good count to 5. And now it's time for the wings. Okay, just put a little glue across the stripe and then you can add those wings. Put them together, count to 5. Almost done. We got the little eyes and we have the antenna, which makes your insect complete. A bee is an insect, so it always has antenna. Now what I do is for the eyes, I just stick them in there. 2 antenna, sometimes wings, 3 body parts. We're only seeing 2 here. All right, think I'm ready to roll. A little glue across the top. Place it on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to finish it off, let's add a smile. Voila. You made it. Now you can take it anywhere you like. Hang it up or just play along with it. Well, that's it for our project. I'll see you next time.
And now it's time for
The joke of the week. Where do books sleep? Under their covers. Hoo-hoo! I did it again.
Checkers Library TV is made possible by libraries across America. Support your local library today. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Checkers Library TV. We hope you learned some great information and we hope you are excited to go to the library and check out some books about insects. We've got some awesome stuff coming for you this summer and we are so thrilled to be talking about it. That's right, next week starts our new show, The Reading Road Trip, where Snoozer and I are going to be traveling around to amazing animal locations. We are learning about all sorts of animals from all across the world. We're going to be meeting them, we're going to be reading books about them, talking about them, and a whole bunch of other adventures we're going to go on right in our Checkers van. And we hope you guys join us for that. Like I said, 12 episodes starting next week, rolling out all summer long. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you're there with us. Well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time right here on Checkers Library TV.